through some of the villages and then basically into a riverbed. And immediately we lost visual contact with our gun trucks, our support element, that nowhere to be found. We're like, and they're starting to move, and they're clearly moving faster than we are. And then over the radio we start getting chatter like, we're about to get hit. Everyone be ready. We're about to get hit. And so like a farmer came up to them like, you guys are gonna get hit. And so we relayed it. We're like, okay, be ready. And so we started working our way down. And we, Vose, I remember, was like, hey, let's keep taking the riverbed and see where it goes. And so we were walking through, and my buddy stops, Shuey. He's leading the patrol, and he takes a knee, and I get over and take a knee next to a tree, and he looks back at me. He just looks at me. He goes, do you hear that? And I kind of just lean in, and that's when it all kicks off. Allahu Akbar, and all breaks loose. The tree explodes next to me, just rapid machine gun fire shooting right down into us. And I took shrapnel to the eye and my face. That was the first time I was wounded in the battle. I ended up taking shrapnel along my nose, my face, my eye. I almost lost my eye. Cut my face, everything like that. And then we returned fire, just volleyed fire back. So it was just volley fire, just going back and forth. Had to get them off our back. Started firing back and forth, and then Stovall, who was the 18 Delta medic, SF medic, he got hit in the leg. So basically we're shooting back and forth, and he's like, I'm hit, and I was like, okay. And so I ran over to him, still taking fire, and I looked at his leg, and again, one of those like fun fog of war, weird, funny things you remember. I whip out my K-bar, and I'm about to like cut up his leg, and he's like, hold on, careful. and I look at him, and he looks at me. I was like, oh yeah, I put my K-bar away, and then I took out my medical shears. I actually kept the medical shears on me because we were actually, we were really good at medical. We were trained on it, and so I got excited, pull out a K-bar to cut it off his pants, got it all, and he had a clean in and out. So I patched him up, got him rocking and rolling. I was like, all right, you're good. Went back, kept fighting alongside Shuey, and then finally we were like, okay, we got to get to some higher ground, after this initial ambush. So we end up going up the side of this kind of riverbed rock terrace, and I remember the canopy. It was still covering us, giving us some sort of concealment, and we're kind of bounding up, and I remember Vose, and we're bounding, and he bounds past me, but it wasn't that far, and he stops, and I like look at him, and he's like, set, and he kind of looked at me and smirked, because right about 2 feet more you're gonna break the canopy of the concealment, and then basically your ass is hanging in the breeze. And so he looked back at me, goes, set, and smirks, and I literally looked at him and said, you motherfucker, and I literally, so laughing, and I went past him and broke through, the canopy per se, and the concealment that we had, and it's just like the valley. You see everything, and it's, they're still firing on us, the whole thing, like we're completely exposed. So we get up, we get behind a rock wall terrace. I get everybody up, we're firing, shooting back, get everybody kind of online, and then we start picking off, targets and start picking off Taliban that are maneuvering on us and all sorts of stuff. We're lit up. Contrary to popular belief, everyone thinks like, they ask questions, do you ever kill anybody? It's like, well, most people have the answer of no, because you're either shooting at, buildings or you're going to suppress a fire. But, I didn't get my first kills until my third deployment. And it was in that all sorts of stuff. We're lit up, contrary to popular belief, everyone thinks like, they ask questions, do you ever kill anybody? It's like, well, most people have the answer of no, because you're either shooting at, buildings or you're going to suppress a fire. But, I didn't get my first kills until my third deployment, and it was in that battle. I'm not calling in for air support quite yet. We're in a pickle, but we're not, it's not completely gone to yet, but we are getting hit from 3 different sides, and so we're holding our own. I go over towards the road. I said, okay, everything, by that time, more stuff happened, but basically the overall is, things were like, covered. Everyone was good doing their job. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the west side, and I'm going to try to see if we can get back to the road. So I bound over, take the west side to see if we can say, hey, let's start getting these guys. So I actually jump onto this one side of the rock wall, face like on the west side of this rock wall, thinking, all right, they're shooting at us from this direction, I'll be good. Now I'm sitting there, I'm kind of scanning the area, kind of looking back, okay, the road's that way, I'm looking this way, and then I thought I got hit with an RPG. like straight up. It was just, I remember the explosion, or what I thought was an explosion. Everything goes black, and the next thing I know, I'm running. So, and that's kind of what was crazy about it was I took off running. Like I said, it was an explosion. Everything, it goes like black, but I'm back at it. And the next thing I know, I'm running, forearms on fire, and I'm assessing my wounds as I'm running. So I'm like, okay, my blood's not pumping out of my neck. Like I don't feel anything wet. It's hot, but it's not, like I don't feel any blood running down me. Bullets are kicking up all around me. And I just remember saying to myself, you're not dead yet, so keep fighting. That was it. That's all that went through my head. And so I'm running, and the bullets were kicking up all around me. It was a machine gun. I was getting hit with a machine gun, a PKM. And so I'm running down this rock wall, and the path is starting to come up a little bit, and the rock wall is still the same height, or the height's starting to reduce. And I was like, I have to jump over this wall. But if I stop, I'm going to get up because I'm going to get shot up with a machine gun. So my mind was just like calculating, a billion times a second, just like, and I remember seeing my Afghan sniper, one of my DDMs, he just looked at me and he's like, come on, and so come to me. And so I'm running, and then I finally get to a point where I feel like I can jump over the rock wall. So I go over and jump on over and start returning fire, start, engaging guys that are now to the west of us. Now we're surrounded. So my radio's gone. I can't communicate. We're in the middle of this valley, surrounded on all sides, and that's when everything really opened up, and that's when they really started to hit us. They're closing in on us, and I remember I look up, and I see 2 Taliban fighters going up a hill, going to a position that I saw, and I was like, they're gonna see it, and they're gonna just light us up. And I remember seeing them run up this hill, and I'm working on VOs, and I look up, and I see it, and I remember saying to myself, like, it's gonna be a long day. And just like out of a movie, 2 rockets come in, like, boom, blow them up, and then 50 cal just right up the hillside. And I look over, and it's like Kiowa. And Kiowas just start screaming in, the rockets are, and I was like, holy shit, like this, and then like it just breathed life back into us, and so that was awesome. So they start engaging, but some of those guys are too close that they can't engage. So they're engaging the targets that they can, and then and then that's when the next the southern element finally got to us, the gun trucks and everything, and my buddy Gilbert like runs past us, and I'm yelling, I was like, Gilbert, and he's just like holding his position, he's just zoned in. He's a corpsman, and so I was like, Gilbert, and he's like, oh. Like he wouldn't even know we were there, and so I call him over and I was like, hey, you need to take him. Like, I'm gonna hand off the duties to you now. Like, work on him. I need to check the perimeter. I need to check on my Afghans. We're still in it. We're still in the fight, but we know the west side now is covered because we have the gun trucks over there, and that's what they maneuvered from. So I jump down and check on my Afghans, and then the medevac is coming in. So we get a few more reinforcements, and we knew they were gonna try to shoot down the bird. And so what I did was we coordinated with the medevacs that they're going to do one fake, and then the second bird was going to come in. And it was like there's barely any room to land, and these guys were phenomenal. So I said, okay. It was like as soon as the bird comes in, I got everyone lined up. I said, here's the targets. So they're clearly shooting at us. So like as soon as the second bird starts coming in, light everything up. So I coordinated like basically a counter attack or counter fire to make sure that the bird didn't get shot down. So as soon as the second bird came in, I screamed, fire, and everyone just lit up, and we started engaging targets, and it did work because you could tell the machine gun fire started slowing down, and then the RPGs went over the bird. So we managed to give down enough cover fire to distract them, or to essentially have them throw them off of the bird, of the medevac bird coming in. So they got those in there, and then they got him on the medevac bird and got him out of there, and even the guys that were on the Black Hawk jumped off it. My buddy Shuey like ran Vos into the Black Hawk, and then those guys that came off it, that like the security element on the Black Hawk, they jump out, and he said I saw the guy on their face, they just went, what the fuck, and then they just started put up the rifles and just started engaging guys. And so we got them, or they got Vos on, carried them on, got them on the medevac, got them on the medevac bird, got them out. And then gathered up my guys, and it was one of those things. I made sure everyone was good, and then we started making our way back to the west side, to the gun trucks. And myself, I was with Shuey. Me and him were like the last ones off the battlefield. I made sure everything was good, and I was the last one out of the patrol, out of that area. And we got to the gun trucks, and it was like a kind of that moment. You just like relief. There's 6 Humvees just armed to the teeth. I see my team leader. I had been shot twice. They were kind of like, what happened? And I'm kind of miserable. So we ended up working our way south, and then we still were getting in contact with like RPGs and machine guns, the front element, and then we just kind of engaged and just forced our way back, and we got back to the FOB, and that was the end of it. But come to find out, what happened was there's a really big, basically head honcho meeting of Taliban leaders, anti-coalition forces that were meeting, just so happened, for about 3 or 4 days in our valley when we went up to do this patrol. So there's all these top Taliban leaders, and they was like a target of opportunity, and they had their fighters in the valley. So they're like, all right, we're gonna these dudes up. And so that's essentially what happened. It was just a coincidence that they were there and we did the patrol. And so they coordinated the attack. They hit all of our elements. There was our element, a mid element, and then the southern element. And then they hit them all at the same time. Basically, our element got hit with about, I believe it was probably 7,500 strong. And, overall, all the other element, probably 150, and maybe more, of hitting all the elements to slow them down from coming to get us. So the guys that were fighting their way up the valley, they were just engaging dudes left and right, like almost just running through the villages. Like there's some little villages along the way, and they're just shooting in every direction, just try to get to us, and they're hitting them to slow them down so that they could overrun us. And we ended up killing 3 high-value targets. Some of the tier 1 units came down and were like, what the f***, but thank you. And then, and we were like, we didn't plan it. Like, don't thank us. It was just coincidence. And but there were some targets there that had killed Kiowa pilots. And so they were, the pilots were like, hey, anything you need from us, we're in debt to you. So that was kind of a silver lining. It sucked losing Vos. It was, and it was a loss for the SF team. And, we ended up killing well over 25 fighters just by a hand count that I talked to all my buddies and the SF guys. Just by numbers, there was over 25 Taliban killed. And the report says more, but, it's I relied on intel. But like guys that we knew that we put down visibly, we knew was over 25. Years later, I was nominated for the Silver Star, and I was awarded the Silver Star for actions under fire and basically protecting Vos from being taken by the Taliban, from being overrun, holding our ground, and then, basically holding the Taliban back from taking his body. So I think that's, I kind of think back on that and the mentality of everything that I was trained to do, taking it to heart and being tested, and like everyone goes to combat and it's awesome, and it's and they kind of prove themselves, but to be put in that situation, to be like, this is it's not just a motto on a t-shirt, it's not just a motto you stick on a poster or a recruiting slogan. It truly is like, I'm gonna die here, I accept death, and that's okay, and I'm gonna die. If I die, I die here, and I'm gonna die in a pile of brass protecting one of my brothers in arms.